So the SEC championship is in the books. Alabama defeats Florida 52-46. Even though it was a back and forth game, Alabama or Florida stayed in it with Alabama. Alabama ultimately was too strong on offense. Mac Jones and Najee Harris were just too much for Florida and the Florida defense, which had a really bad game. Um, Florida's offense, especially in the second half, came up big when they needed to, but it ultimately wasn't enough because their defense could not keep them in the game, allowing 52 points. This is they just touted this really, really weird statistic of Alabama. They have now scored 35 points and at least 35 points 24 games in a row, which is a record, and no one has come close to it. So that's an impressive record. This Alabama team is very good. Based off of what I'm seeing for the playoffs, I still think it's going to be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame, but that fourth spot could be taken by Texas A&M. That's fourth spot. I think it's going to be between one of those two. Florida is out. I was saying before, after the ACC title game, that if Florida wins, they could take the fourth position, or it could be Texas A&M, or it could be Notre Dame. Now it's down to Notre Dame and Texas A&M. It just depends on what the playoff committee decides, that fourth position. And of course, they're still going to decide whether or not they'll put Ohio State in. I think Ohio State should be in, personally. I don't care that they've only played 6 games. They're Ohio State. They're good. And with 22 players out, they still, won by 12 against a Northwestern defense that's very good. So, even though Northwestern did lead at halftime 10-6, Ohio State, in my opinion, is still one of the best 4 teams in the country. And while I do think Notre Dame is a better team than Texas A&M, I would not be willing to put Notre Dame at that fourth position after losing by 24 points. So Texas A&M has not lost like that, so I think they should have the fourth position. But that's just me. Most people think Notre Dame should get that fourth position, and that's what I think will happen. Texas A&M, thinks that they deserve it. The coach thinks they deserve it. They've won 7 in a row, or 8 in a row now. I keep saying 7 in a row. It's 8 in a row now. They're 8-1. We'll just see what happens. But Alabama wins in the SEC title game. I'm not really surprised. The game was a lot more entertaining than I thought it would be. Alabama was dominating in the first half. Just outright embarrassing Florida in the first half. Florida came out of nowhere in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, in the second half, just in general. Looked like a completely different team, looked better. Still wasn't enough because Alabama's offense is just that good. Now I don't think their offense is like LSU 2019, but it's pretty close to that, and it's a very hard offense to stop. And even though their defense allowed 46 points, their offense is good enough to keep them in any game and win them any game. And, even though most people have the playoff as Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, at least according to experts and people on ESPN and stuff, they all unanimously picked Alabama to win the national title in the end, and I agree with them. I've been saying for a while, I still think that they're the best team. I've been saying that for weeks. Everyone's like, no, it's Clemson. No, it's Notre Dame. No, it's some people even saying it's Ohio State. It's Alabama. Alabama's the best team, and the only way I'll be proven wrong is if they lose, which they haven't done at all. And I don't see them losing. But we'll see what happens. Alabama wins the SEC championship. They went into this game against Florida sharing the same amount of SEC title games with them. Um, you know, playing them in more SEC title games than any other team, and Alabama leads obviously in the SEC title game, which is no surprise because Alabama has been a very good football team, one of the top teams for a very long time, most of my life, honestly. And until Nick Saban leaves and that coaching staff is gone, I don't think that'll change. So anytime soon, at least. So we'll see what happens with Alabama. We'll see what happens with Ohio State and Notre Dame and where they're at. I think. I was saying earlier after the Big Ten championship game that Ohio State has cemented their spot. I don't know anymore. Now that I think about it more, I don't know if playoff committee thinks that they deserve it since they've only played 6 games, and every other team in the playoffs has played at least 11. Notre Dame played 11, lost 1, they played 11, lost 1 of them. Ohio State, they played 6. Alabama played a full season, won every game. Clemson played a full season, lost 1. So, and even Texas A&M has more wins technically. Well, they do. They're 8-1. They've got more wins and 1 loss compared to Ohio State's 6 wins and 0 losses. So I think it's gonna be a close one. COVID really screwed up this season and just the Big Ten in general. We went down to an 8-game season, and that messed up everything, especially for Ohio State, and they could get screwed out of a playoff spot because the Big Ten doesn't know how to schedule correctly, and we didn't just play football along with everyone else to begin with. Pac-12 made that decision, made that mistake as well, and they started a month after the Big Ten did, and they're still playing games. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the playoffs, but Alabama wins, Ohio State wins, Clemson wins. All the teams that were favored to win won today, and not really too surprised about most of the games. I expected Ohio State to win by more. I expected Alabama to win by more. I honestly thought Notre Dame would win today, but that did not happen. So we'll see what happens with the playoff and what the committee decides tomorrow, and that's all I've got to say on that. And I'll make a video tomorrow discussing my thoughts on the first, second, third, and fourth position and where they put other teams at as well. So after that, I'll start making NFL videos. The playoffs are going to start pretty soon, just a few weeks, and I'll probably make a video about that with my friends. And we'll just focus on the playoffs until then. So, and of course, the other college football bowl games that'll be being played before the playoffs actually start on January 11th, or at least the Big Ten or the national championship on January 11th. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.